The amphitheater hummed with anticipation. Well, to be precise, it vibrated at a frequency that made my secondary lungs ache. I sat wedged between Krell, whose exoskeleton kept clicking nervously, and Vorna, who couldn't stop flicking her sensory tentacles in excitement. "This is absurd," I muttered, adjusting my translator chip. "The human hasn't even brought a weapon." Krell's mandibles chattered. Perhaps she forgot? Humans are notoriously scatterbrained. Or perhaps, Vorna whispered, her voice dripping with something between fascination and dread, she doesn't need one. I would have laughed, except the entire stadium had gone silent. Down in the arena, surrounded by polished metal walls that gleamed under artificial suns, stood the human. Her name was Mira Vasquez. She wore nothing but a simple gray jumpsuit and an expression that could only be described as, well, bored. Across from her, the Qalthen champion flexed all 6 of his muscular arms. Each one held a different weapon: plasma blade, shock staff, neural whip, kinetic hammer, acid sprayer, and something that looked suspiciously like a modified bone saw. He stood 3 meters tall, his crimson armor reflecting the lights like a promise of violence. The human stretched her neck, cracked her knuckles, yawned. "Is she mocking him?" I asked. "Oh, she's definitely mocking him," Vorna confirmed. The starting horn blared. What happened next would haunt my dreams for cycles to come. The Qalthen charged. His shock staff crackled with enough electricity to paralyze a war cruiser. Mira didn't run. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she dropped. Just dropped straight down onto her back, flat against the arena floor. The Qalthen staff whistled over her head by centimeters. Then she kicked. "Now, I need you to understand something. We've studied human anatomy. We know about their skeletal structure, their muscle density, their frankly ridiculous ability to heal from injuries that would kill most species. But knowing it academically and watching it in person are 2 entirely different experiences." Her leg swept out like a biological battering ram, catching the Qalthen's ankle. The sound was spectacular. A wet crunch echoed through the amphitheater, followed by a roar of pain that made my hearing membranes retreat into my skull for safety. The champion toppled. 300 kilograms of armored warrior hit the ground with a thunderous crash. Mira rolled. Not away from danger, mind you. Toward it. She grabbed the Qalthen's shock staff as he flailed, used his own momentum against him, and drove the weapon into the floor. Sparks exploded. The entire section of metal plating beneath them began to glow red, then white. "Did she just," Krell stammered, "did she just turn the floor into a weapon?" The Qalthen scrambled backward, 3 of his hands clutching his shattered ankle, the other 3 reaching for his remaining weapons. Mira stood slowly, deliberately. She tapped the heated metal with her boot. It rang like a gong. 30 seconds, she announced, loud enough for the entire stadium to hear. Her voice carried no fear, no excitement. Just fact. That's how long before this section collapses. The Qalthen snarled something in his native language that my translator politely refused to process. He hurled his kinetic hammer. Mira sidestepped, letting it sail past her, and the hammer punched through the already weakening floor, creating a jagged hole. Then she smiled. That smile made my blood run cold. It was the smile of a predator who just realized her prey had made a fatal mistake. She ran. Not away. At him. The Qalthen raised his neural whip, but Mira had already dropped into a slide, her momentum carrying her across the superheated metal like she was ice skating. The whip snapped above her. She grabbed the edge of the hole the hammer had created and used it to pivot, her legs swinging up and around. Her heel connected with the Qalthen's injured ankle again. The roar this time could probably be heard from orbit. But Mira wasn't finished. As the champion collapsed forward, she pushed off the ground, planted one hand on his broad back, and vaulted over him. Mid-flip, she grabbed his plasma blade from his weakening grip. She landed, spun, and drove the blade straight into the compromised floor section. The metal screamed, buckled, gave way. The entire platform beneath the Qalthen collapsed inward, dragging him down into the maintenance tunnels below. His remaining weapons clattered uselessly against the edges as he fell, his bellows fading into the depths. Silence blanketed the amphitheater. Mira stood at the edge of the crater she'd created, plasma blade still humming in her hand. She looked up at the judge's podium, wiped some debris off her shoulder, and shrugged. "So," she called out, "does that count as a win, or do I need to go down there and finish him off?" Vorna's tentacles had gone completely rigid. Krell's mandibles hung open. I realized I'd stopped breathing approximately 30 seconds ago. "By the void," I whispered. "She weaponized gravity. And thermodynamics. And the entire infrastructure." "Humans," Vorna breathed, her voice filled with an emotion I couldn't quite identify, "are terrifying." Down in the arena, Mira tossed the plasma blade aside and headed toward the exit, stepping carefully over the still glowing edges of destroyed flooring. Somewhere in the tunnels below, the Qalthen groaned. The crowd erupted. The medical bay buzzed with activity. Correction, it absolutely writhed with panic. Healers from 17 different species scrambled around the Qalthen champion, who lay on a reinforced surgical platform, muttering what I assumed were very colorful curses about human ancestors. I stood outside the observation window with Krell and Vorna, watching the chaos unfold. 6 fractures, the lead physician announced, her scales flushed with stress. Severe thermal burns on 3 limbs. Concussion. Bruised ego that may never fully recover. "And the human?" Krell asked. "Eating," Vorna said, pointing down the corridor. Sure enough, Mira sat in the competitor lounge, calmly working through what appeared to be a protein bar. She'd changed into clean clothes and looked about as concerned as someone waiting for public transportation. "Unbelievable," I muttered. She demolished a trained warrior using nothing but physics and attitude. "Actually," a voice said behind us, "she used approximately 47 different techniques from 6 human martial arts disciplines, plus innovative applications of environmental warfare that aren't taught in any formal system." We turned. The speaker was another human, shorter than Mira, with dark skin and calculating eyes. His credentials identified him as Dr. James Okoye, xenoanthropologist. "You've been studying her," Vorna said. "Not a question." "Studying humans in general," Okoye corrected, moving to stand beside us. "Specifically, how we fight when outmatched. It's rather fascinating from an evolutionary perspective." "Fascinating," I repeated, my voice flat. "That's one word for it." Okoye smiled. "Your species developed defensive carapaces. The Qalthen evolved multiple limbs and redundant organ systems. Humans? We learned to turn everything around us into an advantage. Rocks become hammers. Sticks become spears. Arena floors become traps. But she had no weapons," Krell protested. "The rule specifically stated each competitor could bring up to 6 implements of combat. And she brought 6, Okoye said. Gravity. Friction. Heat transfer. Structural engineering. Kinetic energy. And timing." He paused. "Well, technically that's 5, but she also brought audacity, which counts for at least 2 weapons in human culture." I watched Mira finish her protein bar and start on what appeared to be some kind of fruit. She caught my gaze through the window and waved. Actually waved, like we were old friends meeting at a social gathering. "Why is she so calm?" I demanded. "Because she won," Okoye said simply. "Why wouldn't she be calm? The Qalthen nearly killed her at least 4 times. "Nearly doesn't count," Okoye replied, his tone maddeningly reasonable. "In human philosophy, there's an old saying. Clothes only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. What's a horseshoe? Not important right now. The intercom crackled. Attention all competitors and spectators. Due to, structural concerns in Arena 12, tomorrow's matches will be relocated to Arena 7. Also, all participants are reminded that weaponizing the facility itself may result in repair fees being deducted from prize winnings. Vorna made a sound that might have been laughter. They're charging her for the floor? Worth it, Mira's voice came through the lounge speakers. Apparently she'd heard the announcement. Totally worth it. The next morning, I found myself back in the amphitheater. Arena 7 this time, with noticeably reinforced flooring. The betting pools had gone absolutely insane overnight. Mira's odds had shifted from laughable to genuinely competitive. Her next opponent was a Threxian soldier, bipedal like humans but covered in natural armor plating that could deflect most energy weapons. He carried a shield generator and a particle rifle. Mira walked in empty-handed again. She's going to do it again, Krell whispered. Whatever it is, she's going to do it again. Of course she is, I said. That's what humans do. They find a strategy that shouldn't work, that violates every reasonable expectation of combat, and then they commit to it completely. The starting horn sounded. The Threxian fired. Mira dodged left. The particle blast scorched the air where she'd been standing and hit the wall, which, notably, did not explode or melt or collapse. They reinforced everything, Vorna observed. Mira grinned. That terrifying, predatory grin. Then she ran straight at the Threxian. He fired again. She dropped into a slide, passing under the blast. Before he could adjust his aim, she'd closed the distance and grabbed his rifle barrel. She yanked. The Threxian, surprised, pulled back. Mira let go. The soldier stumbled backward from his own momentum. She swept his legs. As he fell, she caught the rifle, reversed it, and used the stock to smash his shield generator. It sparked. Died. Then she dropped the rifle, stepped back, and waited. The Threxian rose slowly, armor scorched, pride wounded. He charged. Mira sidestepped. Used his momentum to guide him past her. Straight into the reinforced wall. The impact resonated through the entire structure. The Threxian slid down the wall, dazed. Mira walked over, patted him on the shoulder almost sympathetically, and headed for the exit. Winner by technical knockout, competitor Mira Vasquez, the announcer said, sounding somewhat strangled. The crowd lost their collective minds. I turned to Dr. Okoye, who'd somehow appeared beside me again. How? I asked. How does she keep doing this? Humans, he said, spent millions of years as persistence hunters. We couldn't outrun our prey. We couldn't overpower them. So we outlasted them. We adapted. We used tools, terrain, weather, anything we could find. He smiled. Mira is just continuing that tradition. When you enter an arena empty-handed, you're not unarmed. The entire arena is your weapon. Down below, Mira waved at the crowd. Someone threw her another protein bar. She caught it, gave a thumbs up, and took a bite. Terrifying, Vorna murmured. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I agreed, watching the human who'd redefined arena combat in less than 48 hours. But also, kind of impressive. Krell's mandibles clicked in what might have been agreement. Remind me never to fight a human. Noted, I said. Definitely noted. And somewhere in the depths of the station, maintenance crews were already drawing up plans to reinforce every arena surface, wall, and structural support beam to something they hoped might be human-proof. Spoiler alert, it wouldn't be enough. It never is. Friends, if you are enjoying our videos and want to watch new and exciting sci-fi and HFY stories every day, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our latest uploads. Like the video and share it with your friends as well, so our community can continue to grow and bring you even more amazing content.